Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Amitabh Saran, who is the founder of Altigreen Propulsion Labs, which is developing technology for high efficiency, hybrid, and electric mobility solutions with a split team between US and India. Hi, Amit. Welcome to ELI.
Hi, good evening.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your pre-entrepreneurial journey. Where were you born and brought up? Where did you study? And where all did you work before turning an entrepreneur?
Sure. That's going to be a long one. Um, you know, I'm the founder CEO of Altigreen Propulsion Labs, so I'll start from there. I was born and brought up in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, La Martiniere, St. Francis. I did my undergraduate in engineering, BE in computer science from REC Allahabad. And I did work for TCS and Philips. TCS was in Delhi and Mumbai and Lucknow, and Philips was in Singapore and then for some time in Thailand. Then I decided to pursue a PhD. So I went back to academia. I got an admission in the University of California, and I did my PhD in computer science. The PhD was funded by NASA and the National Science Foundation, because of which I continued to work for NASA after my PhD. We were reporting to the Goddard Space Flight Station in Maryland. I then switched over to Hewlett-Packard in the US, in Cupertino, and with them I moved back to India. I had moved to India in 1998. So all this has happened pre-98. I then started my entrepreneurial journey in 1999, 2000. I've had 3 startups, 2 in computer science, and this latest one, which is Altigreen, I started in 2013. The first 2 startups I've exited through acquisitions. So this is my 3rd startup. I am a serial entrepreneur of sorts.
Tell us a bit about Altigreen. What is the problem it is solving to start with?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been in software all my life till 2013. And when your company gets acquired, or your companies get acquired, you do have the luxury of taking a step back and kind of trying to figure out, what is it that I want to do next? So environment and automobiles have been passions. And, I've been reading about, the fate of our country. And you'll be surprised to know that, and this is in the latest Lancet report also, 2.6 million people lose their lives every year in our country because of poor air quality. 2.6 million every year in India alone. 25% of that is attributed to road transport. So basically, we are saying 5 to 6 lakh people lose their lives every year in our country because of road transport related pollution. 5 to 6 lakh a year. Unfortunately, when COVID happened and 1 lakh people lost their lives in our country, there was a national lockdown. These are uncontested figures. 5 to 6 lakh every year have and will continue to. The problem of air pollution related to road transport is grave, and something needs to be done on a war footing. It was with this interest that Altigreen was created. I founded it with the express intent of doing carbon-free transport. That's all we want to do. How do we want to do carbon-free transport? By ensuring that we build solutions that can compete with fossil fuel that have to be better than petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG. Only then will people be in a position to say, okay, I bet on electric because it is better than fossil fuel. I cannot do this by telling people, it's good for the environment, please buy electric vehicles. Boss, nahi chalta. This is India, right? So we do want to make sure that we are creating products, and Altigreen thus started its journey back in 2013. It's been more than 10 years that we've been in this space. You'll be happy to know that Altigreen designs, engineers, and manufactures all the components of EVs. So the motors, the electronics, the software, the battery pack, the gearbox, everything is designed, developed, fabricated, and manufactured in India for Indian conditions. And then we started making electric vehicles that have these components in it. Also, just so that everyone knows, innovation is key to Altigreen. We have 29 global patents that have been granted to us, not applied for, not filed for, granted to us in US, in Europe, in Australia, in South Asia, in Africa, in all the geographies. We create electric vehicle solutions for last mile, for India and the emerging markets of the world, which means South Asia, Africa, and South America.
So, like you said, just by telling that go green, it doesn't solve the problem. You have to do very actionable stuff and something that is practical. So EVs normally are more expensive than the petrol and diesel vehicles. So tell us how are you solving for that problem?
EVs are not supposed to be, if you think about it, a traditional internal combustion engine, a petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG vehicle has about 2,000 odd moving parts. 2,000. Now, if you take a guess on how many moving parts an electric vehicle has, you'd be surprised to know only about 17 or 18. So EVs are not supposed to be expensive. They have very few moving parts, and hence the breakage, the breakdowns, the wear and tear is much lower in EVs. So it's supposed to be a much more simpler vehicle when you build an EV. It's just that the price of batteries is very high. Because you need batteries. And why is the price of batteries high? Because batteries use lithium ion cells. Lithium ion, until the recent discovery in India, is all imported. All the cells are imported. Apart from that, all the chips and microprocessors are also not made in India. But that is still manageable. It's the price of these cells which is a huge problem. And hence the price of the vehicle goes high. Now, the government of India back in, I think, 2016, and then it was ratified again in 2019, created something called the FAME scheme, under which they give a subsidy based on the size of the battery pack. So it's very clear to them that, boss, batteries are very expensive. And if we want to give parity to this, we need to be able to give some kind of subsidy to the end customer, not to the manufacturer, to the end customer, to say, we understand that they're expensive, but we're giving you a subsidy so that the price parity can be established between these two. Now it's left to me to ensure that after this price has come down of the battery pack, I give a vehicle that is equivalent. The thing that works in EV's favor is that a typical diesel vehicle will cost anywhere from 4 rupees to 8 rupees a kilometer. I'm talking about commercial vehicles. They cost about 4 to 8 rupees a kilometer. An electric vehicle, though, will cost anywhere from 90 paisa to about 1.5 to 2 rupees a kilometer. That benefit on a per kilometer basis, something that you see from day one. So as long as we create good financing schemes to take care of this small price differential might be 10-15%, no more than that. If we can take care of that price differential, the total cost of ownership benefit that you see over the lifetime of a vehicle is amazing. I mean, more than 50% of the price of the vehicle itself. So in the case of, let's say we're making cargo three-wheelers. If you compare an electric cargo three-wheeler to a diesel cargo three-wheeler, during the lifetime of the vehicle, they'll be saving of anywhere from 9 to 10 lakh rupees, when the cost of a vehicle is about 4.5 lakh. So huge benefit. So I think we are going to be seeing price parity. Number two, the government has also started this PLI scheme, through which cells are now going to be manufactured in India. So when made in India cells are being produced in India, then the price anyway will come down. So 2025 should start seeing that also happen. So I think there is a time when price parity will probably hit in the next year or two.
So the other question that comes to mind is, earlier we used to have the notion that EVs are completely pollution free, but only recently there has been a lot of debate around EVs are also causing some sort of pollution when the battery and lithium ion is manufactured. There is a certain amount of pollution that happens. And because of that, hydrogen vehicles are also becoming popular now. So what would you say on that?
There are two things there. I think we have to be a little careful. Whenever there are technology swings, there will be, whenever new technology is created, there will be these kinds of, I won't call them naysayers. I would not call them people who are creating fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But it does affect a section of, incumbents or people who have invested a lot in petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG infrastructure. They see that this change is going to be very radical for them. They have invested billions of dollars in an existing technology, and now you expect them to suddenly switch over to the other. It's not going to happen. See, pollution or causes like these are definitely something that has to be considered. But do we really go into the depths of trying to find out how much pollution there is when you manufacture steel, or when you take out crude from the ground, or when you get your shoes and your shirts manufactured in sweatshops across the world? Do we really go into that? It's just something that we discuss in armchair and in air conditioned rooms, but there's a big difference there. From our perspective, we do understand when someone says that, well, you have coal grids and electricity is being generated in coal grids. So how can you say that the electricity being generated in coal grids going into electric vehicle is going to be clean? I totally understand. There, the only thing I would say is that, wherever the source of the power generation is, first of all, no one dies there. Who's dying? People are dying in overcrowded cities where the density of automobile population is very high. That is what we need to fix first. I understand from a global warming perspective, we haven't fixed the problem if we are continuing to use that same coal-based grid. Number two, you'll be happy to know that back in 2011, 2012, when I had started looking at this, 91% of India's electricity was coming from coal grids. Today, that number has fallen to 42%. It's a fact, right? So there's a lot that is being done by governments across the world to create electricity that is greener, made from renewable sources. And when that happens, the equation will tilt even further in the favor of electric vehicles. So there will always be a little bit swing back and forth. But at the end of the day, we have to look at the benefits that they are accruing. Yes, there are always downside to new things that happen. And over a period of time, we are, of course, competing with a technology that has been around for more than 100 years. It'll take some time for this to settle. Let us not look at it under the microscope and just, this is useless, that is useless. Let's look at the merits also.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about the EV adoption in India. What kind of metrics we have been seeing? Because the way I understand is, for a long time, EV was restricted to three-wheelers, auto rickshaws, and then only recently, like last year and last to last year, we have manufacturers like Tata and Ola who are growing like anything. So, what are the inflection points that that you are seeing in the EV market?
I think it's a very good question, and it's very important to look at the history of electric vehicles in our country. You'll be surprised to know the first electric vehicle that showed up in our country was a passenger vehicle that was made in 1999 under the brand name of Reva. Correct. I think we all may have seen a vehicle like that. We were amongst the first few countries of the world that had a production ready full electric passenger vehicle. We have to be proud of that thing, that we had this thing. Obviously, everything else compared to that were cheap imports coming from China. They were mostly in the form of two-wheelers. There were a lot of companies that were doing all these imports, and they were happening. What happened over a period of time was, because of these imports that were coming there, which were built for an other geography and being used in an environment of India. Please realize, Indian environment is, I say, an environment of abuse. Anything that is considered abuse anywhere else in the world is a day-to-day scenario in our country, whether it is potholes, pebbles, dust, water logging, unprofessional driving, anything that you can think of happens every year on a daily basis. Diesel has done a wonderful job, right, in ensuring that they have created vehicles that last through all kinds of monsoons and hills and ice and snow and Himalayas and everything, right, over a period of 100 odd years. So when we create new technology as in EVs, it has to be good, if not better. That was the challenge. It's only recently that we've started having good vehicles that have been built and are being engineered for India's needs. You said it was only about three-wheelers. You were talking about e-rickshaws. Again, those were imports that were coming from China. They were replacing manual rickshaws over there. Today, there are a lot of vehicles that are being made which are meant for last mile delivery. If you look outside and you're getting a parcel from an e-commerce company, more likely than not, it is going to be a big three-wheeler, with a big box, which is an electric three-wheeler, which is going to be delivering these goods for you. So it's no longer a small four-wheeler, diesel fuel, smoke guzzling four-wheeler that comes to your delivery. Now there will be electric three-wheelers. More likely than not, in your neighborhood, in your apartment complex, that is already happening. Why? Because electric vehicles work best when there is point to point. You're going from point A to point B, and it is a known thing. So if it is a hub and spoke kind of model, they work best. And that is why three-wheelers have been adopted so much. I'm talking about a category called L5 three-wheelers, which have to be sturdy, fast-moving, carrying a lot of load up to 1 ton and all that. So they're really replacements for diesel three-wheelers, and in some cases, also diesel small commercial vehicles. Now, passenger vehicles have started happening. So that's a great move. I think two-wheelers have started happening, which is also a great move, and the market is slowly adopting them. I think what we have to make sure is manufacturers make these vehicles as ground-up development for electric vehicles. We should not get lost thinking that an electric vehicle is nothing but a diesel vehicle minus the diesel engine plus an electric motor, and you have an electric vehicle. It's not that. It has to be built ground up for an EV to function. And that is a move that I want to see happen in the industry. There has to be a lot more R&D that is done to create perfect vehicles that will be better than any other vehicle that is made. And this is true. Even if you look at the US, it took a Tesla to prove to the world that good electric vehicles can be made that are much better than any other vehicle. There were electric vehicles before Tesla also happened, right?
Yeah.
But it was a Tesla because it was built ground up. I'm saying that kind of R&D is essential, that kind of innovation, and that innovation will come from startups because they disrupt.
Speaking of Tesla, I think Tesla succeeded because of the huge differentiation it brought. Having said that, India has a lot of EV manufacturers right now, and many more are coming also. It is going to be a crowded market very soon. In a crowded market, you as a company need some sort of differentiator to thrive. So what would you say are the differentiators of Altigreen?
So Altigreen, like I said, from day one realizes that this is the future of transportation is electric, right? So we cannot depend on our supplies from any other country. India's needs, I just mentioned, are very, very unique. It is not like any other country in the world. So I am not willing to accept that, country X has a very good motor and it will work as is in India. It will not. Country Y has a very good controller and electronics and it will work as is in India. It will not, because the needs of our geography are very different, and hence products have to be engineered. That is the number one differentiation, for example, as a starting point for Altigreen. We design, develop everything made in India, made for India. Atmanirbhar is a word that we have followed since 2013, much before the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, coined this term of Atmanirbhar, because we are very confident. We don't use magnets from abroad. So number one thing is that it has to be engineered for India's needs. Number two is you realize that it is not just about a product. It is an entire ecosystem that you have to sell when you're selling a vehicle, which means that it should have not just that, but financing, good customer support, good marketing, ensure that customers can come, they can do test drives, they can see it, they have a sense of pride in owning this vehicle. So there are a lot of things that have to be done as part of the ecosystem. Also provide charging infrastructure for it. So a lot of these kinds of things that Altigreen has continued to work. It will never be about just, okay, I've created the vehicle, now buy it. Now please buy it. Why are you not buying it? This is bad. Let us give discount. Let us give subsidy. ऐसे नहीं होता boss. You need to have the entire ecosystem that has been provided, and that is something that Altigreen has done. And I can assure you that's the reason why it has taken us 10 years to get here. You cannot just come in, do 1 year of product and mix, match these kinds of things, and as an opportunistic company do this. It will not work. You'll be surprised to know I did this investigation back in 2023 when internal combustion engines had happened in the US. There were 1,800 manufacturers, 1,800 manufacturers
Wow.
of internal combustion engine based vehicles. And that number came down to, I think, 30 or something. So from 1,800 to 30. So abhi to shuru hui hai, boss. There'll be a lot more companies that happen in this space. You just wait and watch. As long as it helps innovation, I'm perfectly all right with it. It's always good to have healthy competition. But if people are, just importing, just doing this and giving a bad name to EVs, because people are not getting that, yaar, ye nahi chalega, boss. Diesel is the what I want. Then that's not good for the industry as a whole. But these kind of things up and down will happen. We're in for the long haul.
Got it. Tell us a bit about the products and the brand names that operate under Altigreen.
So Altigreen, as part of our expertise over the first 7 years of our existence, we had good expertise in working with two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and with tractors. So as part of the first 7 years of our existence, we did a lot of that kind of development. And then we created these products. So we created a two-wheeler, created a three-wheeler, created a four-wheeler, and we put it out in the Auto Expo, and we let people decide. Why should I decide what I should make? I'm very clear that a startup needs to have the focus. This is one learning from, and I give this to entrepreneurs. Most people say that startups fail because of starvation, because they ran out of resources. I am the one who will tell you startups fail only because of indigestion, not because of starvation. You try to create too many things at the same time. You create something mammoth, and then you try to retrofit problems into it. Nahi hota, boss. I could have made 4 different vehicles. I will not do that. I will choose one vehicle and I will do a damn good job at it. And that's what we did. We created all these prototypes, we put them out. People bet on our three-wheeler. They said, boss, if you can give me a vehicle like this is perfect for last mile delivery. It's going to change the way India moves its goods intra-city. And that's why we started with that. Now we're in the process of moving to passenger vehicles also, but these are again commercial three-wheel vehicles. I strongly believe that the market adoption for EVs will start with commercial vehicles, because that's where you see the benefit. If you're driving 20 kilometers a day on a scooter or 30 kilometers a day in a car, you don't save that much. So kya point kya?
Yeah.
But if the same guy who's driving 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers on a daily basis sees the benefit immediately, he's seeing 300, 400 rupees per day saving. Over a 25-day period, he's seeing 7,500 to 9,000 rupees benefit per month by doing nothing, by just changing his vehicle. That's all he's doing. And he's seeing that benefit. Now, this is including the price of a battery that he has to change. So all that included, it's still a massive benefit that he's getting. That is why we chose commercial vehicles. That is why we said, and by the way, you'll be surprised to know this, 400 million people access a three-wheeler every day in our country. 400 million, 40 crore, 40 crore people access a three-wheeler every day in our country. So if you want to make a difference, where would you make it? You have to go to the bottom line, the pyramid. Make sure that that guy is happy. You're changing the life of the three-wheeler auto rickshaw guy, because now he's earning 7,500 to 9,000 rupees more. He's happier. He's not having to deal with pollution and noise and vibrations coming from a diesel engine. He's happy. That's what I want.
So now we would like to understand a little bit about your personal side of being an entrepreneur. Tell us, when did you think of becoming an entrepreneur? You had a good job, and I assume the pay was good. Why would you jump into something that is not so certain?
So I've always maintained this, boss. People have this kida in them. I call it kida. There's a worm. It's there inside you. It's like this virus. It is constantly trying to needle you. Right. You have to do something. You cannot accept the status quo. In some cases, these guys are known as, time pass kar raha hai. Why does he have to constantly do this? Some do take actions. It is those guys who become entrepreneurs, because they constantly feel that, why should this be like this? This is wrong. There should be a better way, an easier way, a faster way, a more productive way of doing something. Just because something has been done for the past 100 years doesn't mean we should accept it. Yeah. Kyun? Aisa kaise hota? There has to be a change. And that is the reason why entrepreneurs are born. They see the change. Very few of them do something. A lot of people talk. Very few people take action. The people who take action do land up becoming entrepreneurs, but I will use your platform to give this message that 93% of funded startups fail. 93%. So you have to have the right kind of metal to be able to say, yes, boss, I want to make this and I will make this happen. It is very, very difficult. So when I started, and I told you I started back in 1999, 2000. So it's been about more than 2 decades of me being an entrepreneur. My first company, then the second company, they were both in software. They were both acquired, right? It's very, very difficult. It's not easy. If anyone tells you, startups are a lot of fun and we have late nights and we have the boss, it doesn't work like this. There are tremendous challenges. People keep thinking that, a Paytm was created overnight. Either demonetization or the Paytm become big. Paytm been around for like 19 or 20 years. The company has pivoted multiple times. This is true for a lot of companies. They've been around for a while. It just took them that trigger that pivoted them. I think that's where we have to constantly look at these. So in my journey also, first mover software, like I said, this one was entirely related to this, but there is a very good connect, because if you think about it, electric vehicles are nothing but computers on wheels. There's a lot of software that drives an electric vehicle, which is why you constantly hear of over the air, updates are happening, and Tesla updated this, and then the car started working and became more efficient and batteries became better. This is a reality for electric vehicles. There's a lot of software. And I think sometimes in India, we forget that there has to be a lot of focus on software. It's not about GPS data. It's about the actual software that drives the vehicle. So there's a lot of innovation that happens there. It's been very, very difficult for us. It's not been easy. We pivoted multiple times during the course of this, creating the right kind of teams, hiring the right kind of people for this, from an industry which has typically been a traditional industry. Automobile industry is one of those typical industries, right? I mean, heavy, lot of investment, capital investment, and this and that. People there are also used to a certain kind of engine, a certain kind of technology. To be able to make change happen, you need to hire the right kind of people, put together very good, strong teams to be able to get the right kind of talent in the company. So all that, requires a vision, a larger purpose. All that has to be put together. We've been very lucky in that department. I've always said that, we've been blessed with a very good team. That we will, of course, you need very good investors to back you, and we've been very lucky in that department also. We've been able to convince investors who have been very patient, who've been very good, who followed us, kept investing with us. So it's been, a typical journey that you have to, but it's for the long haul. It's not something small.
So my final question. You have done multiple exits during your entrepreneurial journey. So what I have learned is a startup is like a baby for the entrepreneur, and it's very difficult to part ways with the with something that you have built with so much passion and hard work. How do you deal with exits? What happens after the founder exits? Oh.
Yeah, I think I may have mentioned that, you start with a certain vision and purpose when you're creating a startup. I think sometimes people forget the purpose, the main purpose behind the startup. Like, for example, in our case, it is carbon-free transport. What do I want to do? I want to ensure that we save lives. How do I save lives? By the quick and accelerated adoption of electric vehicles in our country, correct? Now, if there is a way, a platform through which I can accelerate this, that my vehicle is really good, but I want to accelerate this, right? You should choose that platform. You should. I'm being very clear about it, because your original vision was to save lives. The original vision was not ki, ye to mera product hai, I should name it Saran, and everywhere I sell it, I should get 5 cents royalty on it. All that also do. But don't forget the original aim. The day you get so attached to the business that you start feeling this is me and I am this and this is me, that's the time when problems really start happening, because you somewhere you could not distinguish between your vision and what you are doing, your baby. You started really believing that it is your baby. It is not your baby, dude. There are 1,000 people working in this. You didn't create it, boss. Aisa nahi hota. So you have to look at the larger purpose for which you created it. And if you find a platform, if you find a channel to be able to do that, you should be willing, as long as the channel is right. I'm not saying the first guy who shows up, you should make an exit. No, boss. If it matches your vision and your purpose, and you do feel that this is the right platform that will allow you to achieve what you wanted to achieve in shorter time or in more predictable time, I think that is the time when an entrepreneur should start thinking. I'm not saying that you should, because an exit can also be an IPO.
Yeah.
And that is also a very viable path. As long as you feel that, no, I know this better than anyone else in my industry. Sure, why not? Take the IPO path. Go on raising funds and at some point become IPO. Why not? The public investors are going to support you in your process if you are adding value. I think that is where we have to be very clear. And I'm not saying you should be guided by the exit, but you should be aware of it. That's all. Keep doing what you are there, what you're doing, which is, adding more value to your customers, to the ecosystem. As long as you're adding value, I don't think you will ever have to look back. Options will appear before you.
On this note, we will close the session. It was a great session, to be honest. My pleasure hosting you, and thanks for your time, Mr. Amit. I would say my best wishes for Altigreen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And all the best to all the entrepreneurs who are listening right now.
Thank you, Amit.